Where do I start? I'm okay, but I think I'm a bit under the pressure at the moment. There's been quite a lot going on, I think, in the last couple of weeks, and I'm okay. I can get on with stuff, but don't get me wrong. But I think I'm struggling to try and get cases done. I know recently, you've been asking people to make sure that cases are closed and whatever, and I've got court coming up. I just feel as if I just really get a bit stuck and I don't really know where to go with it or what to do.
Right, we need to help you because you're saying I'm okay, but actually you're not okay. So let's see which bits of it are causing you the problem.
Okay.
Is it maybe about the prioritising of the work that's causing you a problem in order to meet the deadlines? Or is it the computer system? Or is it actually having space to do the work because of the calls that are coming into you? Which bit do you think is causing you the most problem?
A bit of everything, really, from what you've just described. I think I would probably need to take a sit back, I think, and if I can have a bit of time to try and prioritise. If you can help with that, that'd be great, because I think I'm just going round and round and round, and I know that some things are catching up with me, really, that I need to sort of get deadlines on. And the computer system, I know it's always a bit of a problem, but I think really, prioritising. Where do I start and how do I put things in?
Okay, I've got a couple of options for you because you may feel more comfortable with one than the other. Firstly, if you want, I'm happy to sit down with you with your diary, and if we get a list of those pieces of work that you're trying to get completed, look at the deadlines for them, look at how far you are, and look at which one of those is a priority.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Sometimes if you've just got an order that you can work things through with, that can help. But if it's possibly a little bit deeper than that, maybe we need to look at that, but also look at your diary, and it may be that we need to get some support for you in terms of your home visits, attending call groups, things like that. Maybe we could actually share some of that with the duty worker just to help you through this. Or maybe you'd prefer to speak to your senior practitioner about it. Have you tried that already?
Yeah, she hasn't really been there much this week, to be honest. And I did actually go up to her and ask. Well, I didn't ask really, I suppose, but I sort of mentioned that I was struggling, but I didn't really sort of get much else from her. But again, I suppose I've got to wait for supervision, but that's not until the next sort of 3 weeks. And I don't know whether to leave it until supervision because I know she's really busy. Or
right, you're thinking about everybody else's needs here, and you're not actually thinking about your own, are you?
well, it's a busy team. Everybody's got. I know that everybody has their own sort of workload, so I didn't know whether to leave it until then or to maybe arrange something a bit sooner.
How does it make you feel waiting 3 weeks to get some kind of resolution though?
Well, that's why I come to you, really, to be honest.
Exactly.
So if that could be done, then yes, I understand what you're saying, because I don't want it to get to a point where it gets really bad and then my work starts getting affected, and then obviously that's going to impact on everybody else.
So maybe what we need then is to have a look, prioritise the work. It could even be that I know that you've got a horrendous amount of court work on at the moment, and trying to meet those deadlines with your care plans and your statements, that can just be next to impossible, especially when you're trying to still manage your cases with your reviews and that type of paperwork. Maybe if you think it's needed, obviously, we could look at getting duty worker to cover some of your home visits, so that can free up some time for you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Also, we could look at the duty worker being able to support you in terms of attending your call groups and some of your reviews. Then if that doesn't free up enough time, maybe we need to actually then look at exactly what it is you're doing with these statements. Have you got yourself a framework that you're working within, or are you trying to scrabble things together from everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being new to the job, I've got a couple of statements that I've been using as examples from other people. So that's helped a bit, but they are very different. And
do you feel that it would be beneficial then if maybe myself or somebody else put in some time and we could sit together and work on these reports together maybe?
that, yeah, that would be helpful, definitely. Yeah, because I've been trying to just get on with it, as you know, because I just want to get them done. But the examples I've got, some of them aren't necessarily relevant to the actual issues that are going on in respect of this particular court case. So, you know, just trying to word it and the terminology and what I really need in that report.
So some
that
practical,
would,
hands-on guidance with the writing of the report.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very happy to do that with you.
Okay.
And also thinking about this in terms of your future and finding yourself in this sort of position again. Have you done any of the report writing courses yet?
No, I only did one, but that was in my second year placement. I haven't done any since I've been here.
And how beneficial did you find that?
Yeah, I'm looking back on it now actually, and obviously, although it was sort of over a year and a half, nearly 2 years ago, it's but I would probably like to refresh myself and do that again, something like that, or any court work, or because obviously I've shadowed people, but this is my first real sort of court case myself. So, if there was some training, perhaps that would be. Yeah, I'll take that. That would be good.
Yeah, no, I can certainly look into
Okay.
training that's available.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not going to be today or tomorrow.
No.
But in the interim period, you know, I can support you in getting those reports written,
Mm-hmm.
give you some extra guidance and tips. But how are you feeling about going into court for the first time?
I'm excited about it, but obviously quite nervous because it will be my first case that obviously I've presented to the court, and particularly with the family that I've been working with for so long now. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect, because when you're in there and you're watching other people, it's very different. So and obviously I'm just concerned a bit about possibly having to be cross-examined. I don't know whether it will go that far, but it might do. So I'm just sort of trying to get it in my head really about the process and what's expected of me, and you know what legal do when they're there, obviously, because I'm not. Although I've been liaising with them, I don't really know what happens in the courtroom on the day. So.
Okay, so we need to allay any fears you have there as well, because it can be quite daunting going into court for the first time. The only thing I can share with you from my own experience is that basically the better you know your case and the better you know what it is you want to achieve from that court session, the easier it will be for you. So that's going to be around your knowledge of the family, of the difficulties that are faced, either within their parenting abilities or their sexual orientation or the paedophilia that's going on. It's about you having a true understanding of how all of those things impact on the family, and then how that impacts on the children. Because from what you're saying, I'm thinking that possibly you're looking at a placement order.
Yeah, most certainly, yeah.
Right, okay.
And, you know, listening to what you just said, I think throughout my supervisions, you know, I do know this case like the back of my hand. I'm confident in that respect, because I've worked really, you know, quite hard on this, and, you know, I know what to put in this report. It's just getting it right, basically. So, yeah, you're right with that. I'm happy with that side of it, because I think they can ask me anything and I'll be able to give them a response.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
I
really
hope
good.
so anyway. But it's just the actual what goes on in there. But I think I'll be all right. Once I'm in there and I get into the flow of it, I'm sure I'll be fine. But it's the first biggie, really, so.
Right, well, I can tell you now, you will see your legal outside of the court. And basically, wherever they sit, you sit behind them or beside them.
Mhm.
So that kind of takes care of your initial,
Mm.
where do I go,
Mhm.
where do I sit, but also, you know, let the legal know, talk to them, say, you know, first time I've been here, not quite sure where I should sit,
Mhm.
and let them guide you. That's what they're there for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's their area of specialism. You know,
Mm.
yours is about the needs of the children that you're trying to safeguard and
Mm.
ensure their welfare. So no more than they could tell you how to do that. They
Yeah,
can have
that's
input.
true. But yeah, that's true. Obviously, all the legal sort of jargon and the technicalities of it. Yeah, you're right. I won't be able to answer that because it's not my field. It's like you say about the social work practice and the social work stuff and the protection of the children. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that's made it a bit clearer now. Yeah, so I'll just hand over to legal when it gets to that point.
No, exactly. You've got to keep your stresses and worries at as minimum a level as you possibly can.
Okay. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Brenda, do you want to give some feedback?
Yeah.
Some thoughts about...
Okay. So, what I did observe from the time Kelly started, she did actually say what was wrong with her, what was going on with her job and everything. And then you actually relayed back to her to actually fully understand. So you were actually listening to understand, and then you did relay back that information to Kelly. You did add on a few things which should actually encourage Kelly to actually say, yes, you know, those are the things around the areas she was having problems with. You did manage to reflect back on your own experience and actually share your experiences back with Kelly to actually say, when I started, this was going on, and this is how I dealt with it. And then you did ask questions about, you did offer different issues, and then you did ask questions to actually say, how do you feel about that? So you wanted to actually get her opinion on the questions you're asking. And you did make suggestions as well, since she was having problems, to actually say, okay, how would you feel if you would work with someone on duty or work with a senior practitioner? So you're actually referring, you know, making suggestions for her, things to be much easier. You did offer advice about, you know, giving advice about meeting deadlines, about the framework of starting something new or training. I did lose track somewhere along the line. And then you did tell Kelly about actually, like, you did, like, it was a telling of, like, you actually trying to think more about other people rather than yourself. So it was just like telling of, like, put yourself first rather than other people. And then you did look at everything. So yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, that's very clear feedback. Was there any thoughts from Kelly as the recipient?
Yeah, I think interpersonal sort of skills. You're very very warming, and you immediately made me feel a lot less frantic. I mean, I know we're only sort of role playing, but you immediately made me feel as if A, I could talk to you, and B, that it was okay for me to say what I wanted to say, and you made it quite a sort of welcoming and comfortable scenario. So that was, and you did offer a lot of support and made me feel as if, you know, everything's going to be okay. Yeah, so it was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and did you have any thoughts about how you were, you know, when you were doing it, or how it was for you? Or?
Yeah, I wanted Kelly to not feel under pressure. I wanted to try and lift some of that for her.
Rescue
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was very aware of that wanting to make you feel safe. So yes, rescue you.
Yeah,
But
and I've got a sense of that actually.
Mm.
It was like you were taking, I'll take that bit, I'll take that bit, that's how it felt. And actually, I could really take advantage of that and go, yeah, great, okay then, if you do that, lovely, I'm coming away with like, but it was like that. It was like you'd just taken it away from me bit by bit. That's how it felt. It was quite strange.
And I actually, I did want to take your worry about it away.
Yeah.
But not your work that you would need to do. But I also kind of felt, well, how did I feel the first time I was asked to write a court report, and all of those other deadlines that come in, and they're all important.
Mm.
Which one's more important? No one's ever sat down and said, right, if you've got this, this and this, you need to be prioritising this bit higher because, and that bit lower because. And I felt quite lost in it all when I first went into it. And I kind of felt that you could be at that same place. So in some ways, maybe I'm making a wrong assumption. Maybe I was comparing you too much in my mind to how I felt. And not wanting you to give up for the sake of a little bit of extra nurturing support in those earlier days. Because I kind of feel that when someone's got a good grasp, then they fly, they soar all by themselves. It's kind of worth the extra effort in the early days for me. But yeah, I take on board very much the rescuer. Very guilty of that, I'm afraid.
Because I suppose I very much agree with what both Kelly and Brenda have said about you using lots of different skills, about you being very warm, very good interpersonal skills, facilitating the conversation, you know, very well. But, and we're into, I suppose, what it felt to me is you very quickly, if you also look at Kadushi's model, went into kind of quite a managerial kind of, and there was a supportive element to it, but quite managerial. What are we going to do? How are we going to sort it out? What's the problem? You know, is it this, or this? Whereas, so they did feel, I don't know if it was something about reluctance to say with the emotion, or, you know, just to sit with, I'm feeling crap, I'm really stressed out, things are very difficult. And it's interesting because you could say neither is wrong or right. You know, it's not wrong to sit with the emotion, but perhaps if you sit with it too long, then you're a soggy heap and you never want to come back. But you could say that actually it's quite appropriate to feel quite anxious and nervous about going to court the first time, and you somehow can't rescue that away. And if you're kind of trying to go, I know you didn't say you shouldn't feel like that, but you almost said I don't want you to feel like that. And then you say, whose needs is that about? Is that your needs as someone who's felt that uncomfortable and, you know, before? Or so I think they're interesting questions to ask yourself. And I think in frontline social work you can get very proactive, because that's how you need to be a lot of the time, isn't it? So you get into that mode. And I suppose it's just useful to think, well, is that the best mode to be in at this particular moment? I don't know if that's helpful or not, it's just a thought.
It's interesting.
No, it is helpful. It is helpful, actually.
Okay.
Because, yes, maybe I could have explored your feelings a little bit more, where you may actually have come up with some solutions yourself.
That's interesting.
Yeah, rather than immediately attaching them to your own and then trying to rescue me out.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so your hypothesis is if you'd given Kelly a bit more opportunity to talk about how she felt and where her worries were, that she may have come up with some ideas and some thoughts
Yes,
herself.
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting. And it's interesting kind of listening to somebody in frontline social work have that conversation. I've had a lot of experience in children's mental health where you do a lot of sitting and thinking about things, and you probably be twiddling your thumbs and thinking nothing's being done.
Yeah, that's the real difference. Yeah.
I haven't sorted anything out. But I suppose what you're saying, there might be a middle position. There might be somewhere in between.
Yeah, the solutions could be within us if we had the space to explore it. And maybe Kelly wasn't given that space, quite frankly, because I was too quick of offering possible solutions. And then was she being too polite? Maybe she felt she had to accept these, whereas if I'd let her delve a little bit deeper into her feelings.
Yeah, because that point where you came in, you actually told like just a few lines about how you were feeling, and then when she won't related it back to you, it was actually like a massive, like a lot of things, IT and everything, so it was actually like, and then you just went and said, yeah, that's the whole lot, it's everything, it's everything, so it actually is like, in a way, it actually encouraged you to talk more openly about the other things which were worrying you, rather than focusing on one point. In a way, it was actually like she took over the conversation. But I think it works both ways. Because sometimes you actually go in and you actually don't say what you really want to say. And when someone is understanding and actually listening and actually saying, what are you trying to say to me? And then they come up with suggestions, you actually think, yeah, that's a problem as well. It's not just one problem, it's a big problem. It's not just one thing you're concerned about, it's a lot of things. So
Yeah, but I think, it's interesting. I was thinking about how kind of with unpicking things, one has to think about both feelings and needs. And probably that conversation was about 90% need and 10% feeling. I'm not saying it should be the other way round, but, I don't know what to do that with
Less
my
less balanced than maybe it could have been.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting if you allow, as you say, if you'd allowed a bit more space for the talking about how she felt, where that might have gone.
Yeah.
And you may have ended up in a very similar place, but she, as you say, she might have come up with some of those solutions herself and felt less rescued and more empowered.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So in doing what you think might be the best thing, actually, you're disabling someone.
Well, that's the risk. Sometimes you might have someone come in on their knees, and they need to do that. I'm not convinced in that situation that you had to take a very proactive stance. I think you did to a certain extent. But I think a lot of it is cultural. It kind of gets in your blood, doesn't it?
But then we need to be aware of that as well.
Yeah.
So this is a good exercise from that perspective too. So
Yes. Okay, right.
Good.
Oh, good. No, I thought that was really interesting. So, it's the easiest thing is just to swap one round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we go that way? So you're now
Thank you.
you're now supervisory consultancy
Okay.
type person.
Yes.
So you'll be person with problem,
okay.
and you're the observer.
And I'm the observer.
That's
Okay.
right.
Are you happy there or?
Do I go there? Or?
Well, you can swap chairs.
Would you feel better?
That's okay.
So good. Okay.
Well, it's going to be difficult because we work in different departments, so just...
Yes,
just
okay.
yeah.
Let me just think. Right, okay. Right, so,
Okay. Hi, Kelly.
hi Brenda.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in. I just wanted to call you in just for a quick chat, if that's okay. How's everything going?
At the moment, things are very difficult because everything is changing within the workplace and, new framework coming into place. So I'm really finding it difficult because we have so much stuff to do and we really don't have managers on board to actually support us on a daily basis. So that's where I'm actually finding most of my problems because some of the paperwork needs to be signed off by a manager before we go to the next stage. But at the moment, every time I actually come in the office, I've completed a piece of paperwork. There is no manager to sign it, so I'm having really, really difficult moments with this.
How long has this been going on, Brenda?
It's been going on for the past 2 months, and because we are learning something new, so it's a learning curve, and it's a very challenging moment for me at the moment. So it's really difficult not to have a manager around. So it's been going on for the past 2 months. I've approached my managers, and they said there will be someone on board all the time, but really there hasn't been any improvement.
Okay, well my first question would be, where are these managers?
It's actually them at meetings at times. There is always something going on that there isn't, because there are two managers who actually have to share being in the office. But at the moment, every time actually a colleague or anyone or myself actually wants something done, there's never a manager, and we've actually raised these concerns in meetings, and we were told they'll be raised, but they'll be sorted out, but up to now nothing.
So how is your work actually being achieved? I mean, you're saying that you need things signed, so
Yes,
how is that impacting? I mean, surely this must be...
because now it's actually there is a delay in taking things to panel, because everything that goes to panel, it has to be signed by a manager before we actually take it to panel. But now it's actually less and less cases are being taken to panel because there's no manager to authorize this. This is also affecting, the piece of work we're actually carrying out, because instead of me taking on more cases, I'm actually waiting on the manager to actually give me the go-ahead to authorize this ones I've done, and then I can actually have the space to take on more cases. So
Okay.
this is actually impacting on the way we work on a daily basis.
Yeah, of course, I can see that. I acknowledge that fully. I'm just thinking here that your first line manager is obviously the person that you're asking to sign relevant pieces of paper
Yes.
for your daily work.
Yes.
But there must be the next manager up, your next line manager. So where do they fit into all of this?
It's the first, they all have to sign, but then, like I said before, they never in. So the impact is actually on senior practitioners who actually have no authority to actually sign the paperwork. So this has been, brought before them, and up to now we don't have anything, any resolution. So I really wanted to find out from you, what can you suggest? How can we go forward, or is there a way we could actually get the managers to sit down again with someone at least higher up to actually come up with this?
Well, that would be my recommendation, but obviously the position I'm in, I'm not, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, so it's like, I'm not a manager.
Yeah.
See, I don't know the conversation you've had with managers. I'm stuck now, completely blown it, don't worry.
Okay. The other thing is the paperwork. We really need training with regards to the paperwork we're doing, and we haven't been fully trained with regards to how to complete this paperwork. We had just a few sessions, but then they weren't focusing on older people with dementia and how they would fit into these. They focused mainly on people with
So who
learning
provided that
disabilities.
training that you had?
It was provided by the people who are actually taking a lead in self-directed support,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually offer training which actually just focus more on people with learning disability. And when we had to give feedback at the end of it, they actually said they would offer us more training.
But that hasn't materialised
That
yet?
hasn't.
Okay, so that's something that needs to be chased up?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so what we can do then is, if you can forward me the name of that lead professional that was delivering that training,
Mhm.
and then I can sort of chase that up perhaps and send that through to managers to get that put in place, because obviously if that's a practice issue, then that's needing to be addressed. I have no idea what to say because it's completely thrown me.
No, she wanted outline this, that it's going to be difficult if we actually have different.
I have no
different
idea
teams,
what it
isn't
is you're talking about.
Can we come?
Yes.
Can I come up with another topic?
Yeah, you
Something
can, you can
Joe.
go on to something else to say. And also,
Because I called you into my office, so that was my plan, and then you hit me with that, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like nothing to do with what I was going to call you in the office for.
Okay. I'm having a problem with my student.
Right, go on.
Okay. I'm having a problem with my student. Every time I try to give her advice as to how to actually write reports and everything, she's actually not taking it on board. So at the moment, we're actually having this dilemma of I have to actually look at everything she does, and then actually try to actually give other colleagues to actually look at it, and then maybe she could actually get the example as to how to actually work within the team and what is actually required.
Right.
But she doesn't seem to be taking it on board.
Okay, so this has been throughout your supervisory process, has it?
It was right at the beginning.
Okay.
We're at the middle point now, and it's really concerning because she will be finishing soon, and I'm really concerned as to how I can actually give feedback towards the end if she's actually not taking on board what I'm saying.
Well, obviously you've got to the midway point now. I would
Yes.
expect that you have previously challenged her about this within supervision and
Yes.
that's been recorded within those supervision sessions?
Yes, it has been recorded.
Okay. And so after how long have you left it? I mean, because if you're saying you're now up to the midway point,
Mhm.
my concern, like you just said,
Mhm.
is that she's almost coming to the end of her placement now.
Mhm.
So this has been ongoing, you've challenged it and challenged it.
Mhm.
At what point did you consider contacting the university or?
It was 20 days after, like 20
Mm.
days into her placement, because at first she would come up with excuses to say she's not well, her son is not well. So I was actually
Okay.
trying to actually be supportive because she had these personal things going on. But right now I'm actually feeling that she is taking advantage of the situation.
And have you expressed this to her tutor within the university?
Yes, it's been expressed, but then they actually said since we are towards the midway, they could actually come and then we would actually discuss it at the midway point.
So that's all set in place, is
It's
it?
all set in place.
Excellent, okay, that's fine. Well, you've done everything right there, you've obviously acknowledged it, you've done your best to obviously address this with her, and you've correctly picked up on, there has been no improvement in her practice, which is of concern, so you're quite right to raise that. What is your relationship with her like in general?
I think it's because since we are almost the same age, I think she actually
Right.
takes advantage of that situation. And she does listen to some of the stuff I actually say sometimes. But then she actually, all the time she refers back to the stuff she's been doing before, which I actually have actually said to her, we need to actually improve the standard of your writing and everything. But then she tends to revert back all the time, so I'm actually thinking, is she taking on board what I'm saying to her? Or is she taking advantage that, I cannot, because of our relationship, all the same age?
Okay, what are her written skills like? I mean, is this maybe an issue around something else, something deeper, that she's maybe not got confidence or in literacy skills or understanding?
When I did challenge her before, she actually said the university doesn't have any problems with my writing, so she didn't really understand why I had issues with that.
Did you see her previous portfolio from her previous placements?
She had a very difficult placement in the
Did she?
second year. And
For similar reasons or?
No, because from her perspective, she was the only black student it was a school setting.
I see, okay.
And there were teenagers, troubled teenagers, and she actually found it very difficult.
Okay.
So she actually said her portfolio was really, the way they actually did that, it wasn't to the standard of the university, the way they wanted, but then there was the understanding that there were a lot of issues that had to be resolved.
Okay, well from what you've explained, you have addressed it quite clearly. You've followed the correct procedure. You have the university tutor coming into your midway review. It would probably be good to speak to your tutor before you have that midway review and just give them some feedback about your thoughts and feelings and your experiences so far with your student. And I think within that midway there needs to be a further development plan, obviously, but that can be put together between yourself, your student and the tutor. How are you feeling in general about, how has this made you feel about your student, and issues with yourself?
At the moment, I'm really not sure for the way forward because I'm actually thinking I have raised these issues and I've only been told that we can actually meet at the midway meeting. And
Well, actually, you can actually meet before then. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily wait to the midway, when is that booked for? Quite a few weeks away?
it's just a few weeks away.
Okay, well it may be best to have that discussion with them beforehand, and they can come in quite, sooner rather than later, if you think that that's what you would like to do.
Yeah.
It's a big responsibility taken on a student. What I was going to ask was, I've completely forgotten. So you've done everything right. I think obviously this is the first time that you've been a practice
Yes.
teacher, and it's not very easy when you have difficulties with your first student. But is this the only issue that you have with your student? Are there any other areas of the...
No, that's the main issue, because I am actually thinking she is good at her work, but then it's actually the absence, they're not taking on board some of the suggestions that are being put forward to her, and
Okay, we need to you need to get to the bottom of why that is, why she's not picking up on those suggestions, why she's continually sort of either A, refusing to acknowledge them or accepting them, or whether there is something more. So have that meeting with the tutor at the college and yourselves, and if there's anything more that I can do, then obviously, get me involved, it's not a problem, and I'm here any time if you want any more support, okay? That's a load of rubbish.
I'm quite brute like that. What's the official feedback?
Jane, that was more than 10 minutes. I was thinking, no.
There wasn't much more than 10 minutes. I waited till another 2. But,
Okay, I'd already started, obviously, on the
On the one
beginning
before,
bit.
yeah.
So some of this is going to seem weird in comparison to what you've said secondly. But I felt that you were keen to sort of find out what the problem was and looked at what had happened, what had been put in place to support that, i.e. where was there a manager, you can go to the next manager up. So there was an instructing but also a guiding element there to what you said. Plus there was showing that you'd listened in the first place in order to be able to do that. One question you did ask, which I was a bit concerned about, but I would have been just as intrigued to know the answer, is, well, where are the managers? It's like, why would you know where the managers are? It's not your role to know where the managers are. So there was that side of it, but there was also the other side. Hey, are you just being awkward? Are you looking for
That's
things
why I
to be
asked it.
signed? Yeah, are you looking for things to be signed when it's convenient for
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
What are the plans that are in place? I mean, is there a time when managers do signings? Is there a box you put them in? Should you have put it in there 48 hours beforehand? So there was that side of it as well. There was an exploration there,
Yeah.
which possibly you could have explained more deeply.
Yeah.
Because had I not been aware of that situation happening, I wouldn't have looked at the other side. I'd have thought, oh, right. So this poor little social worker has to know where the managers are, as if they're going to relate to her. But I kind of took that you were coming from another angle than that. But it wasn't clear from the way you worded
No,
it.
because I was just getting lost throughout that whole thing. It was
I
just a
could tell
mess.
Kelly was like, stop
Yeah.
it, Brenda.
You,
Don't ask me that.
when you got some clarity there and you discovered or seemed to discover that there wasn't some other thing in place, that it was a case of when this is ready, you take it to a manager and sign it.
It was my fault, I should have said. We always send emails or write in an appointment book to actually say, can I see you today at this time to sign off my paperwork.
Ah, yeah, see that might
So
help.
that's my fault.
But nevertheless, you didn't know that, and what you did say was about following up on the previous training that should have ensured that these kind of situations didn't crop up, so that your workload wasn't mounding up and stopping you from taking on new cases for the sake of a signature, because the next part of your job was to then go and present to a panel where you would have to fight for what you wanted in order to get agreement from the panel. So the whole process was being slowed down by not having a good system in place within the office. And I kind of interpreted that that was something that you were not best pleased about and that you would be following up on, but obviously you weren't going to put across in this conversation how you were going to do that. But I kind of felt glad I'm not the manager. She's going to come after me. And then moving on to the second part where you were talking about your student, you were able to instruct whilst not making it seem like a dictate. For instance, there was the one where you can meet with the uni before the three-way. So yes, it was telling because it was a definite possibility, but you did it in a way that was giving her an option. It wasn't like you were saying, do this. It was, well, you know you've got this facility available, and then you were also guiding her in terms of, well, really you need to be doing that because if you're having these difficulties at this stage, they need to be sort of rectified. I felt that you're summarising, going into the second part again, where about the supervision of the student. I felt that was an excellent recap of what you'd heard about the concerns that she had. You really did summarise and paraphrase that really, really well. Felt good about that. Then there was, you were very good at listening to her concerns about what was going on. And that was evident in the fact that you were able to give her guidance, to give her instructions, to ask questions around it. And I felt all of that proved that you had listened pretty well to what her concerns were.
Okay.
This way the time. Kelly, do give us your feedback.
Oh, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. Because I just didn't have a clue what anything was talking about. Because my idea was, I said, thanks for coming in, because I was going to address an issue with you, and you completely turned it the other way round, and I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Yeah, because I said, thanks for coming in, and I was like, oh no. But anyway, we did it. Yeah, no, I didn't have a clue what you were talking about. I just went with it. But I just thought it was
Apart from
awful.
kind of feeling out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, very much.
What did you feel about kind of the skills you used in the conversation? Or did you feel because you were so outside your comfort zone,
No, I don't think I was too far out of it that I couldn't, effectively help or support or assist in some way, even if it wasn't that I didn't have the same expertise as you or the same knowledge. I think just being someone that just listen and could just maybe offer some general advice other than sort of telling you X, Y and Z, because I don't know how your procedures run, but yeah, I felt okay about that really, that we could engage at some level regardless.
Okay. Well, that was my sense of it, but
Yeah.
you kind of shrieking and going,
I know!
I think you actually did really well.
You did well. You did, because oh, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
No, it's good. It's a really good thing though, because it makes you, just do it. It makes you think, and it's good. Sometimes we need this, and we need that sort of experience, because we don't. We're so set in what we know, what we do. We're experts at this, and this. But then suddenly, with something like that, you're like, whoa!
What?
But it's good though. It is good.
And ultimately, we're meant to be generically trained.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you bring that into the equation, should
Yeah.
it then matter whether you have in-depth knowledge in a particular area of practice or not? Because it's about your overall social work skills and ability to...
Yeah.
Because that's the problem, because I found it difficult giving supervision to colleagues rather than giving supervision to students.
Yeah.
Because we have this organization, settings which actually, you focus, it's workload task, you focus on that. Whereas with the student, you're actually focusing on different things. You're actually focusing on theories, you're focusing on their progress, reflective practice and all that. Whereas you wouldn't do that really with the colleague to actually say, can you reflect on the stuff you've done and why you've done it? It's actually like, this is your caseload, what's going on with this case? Do you need any support? Which is, but with the student, I think we're more cautious. We actually like, thinking outside the box as well, which is different.
because we had an agenda, and our agenda was covering the nurturing, it was covering the educational, and I've forgotten the third one because I haven't got very good memory on conditions list.
It's
I know there's
managerial
three.
support and
That's it.
educational. But it's
Yeah.
very interesting, that's not a model specifically for students, that's a model for supervision. And it's very interesting that you're all saying as soon as you get with your social work hat on, rather than your practice supervisor, you get, and I think a very similar experience of watching you, great interpersonal skills, really good at kind of facilitating, listening, lots of good non-verbal kind of cues, but again, real rush to sort it out
I know.
and solve the
Yeah.
problem, and
Yeah.
you know, and it's
And that's been a big learning curve for me, particularly
Mm.
through the first part, the supervision module that we've done, because that is how I am. I'm an activist theorist. I get out there, do the job, and I don't suffer fools gladly. I want people to pick, and that's how I've been. But throughout this process, I've had to change. And that's been a massive, because I have to sit with my student and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours. Whereas I want to be
Thinking
in
about
there
things.
going, right, X, Y, and Z, brilliant, done this, done that, no, right, let's go, off we go. Do this in practice, blah, blah, you know, copy what I do, watch me, tell me how it is. But, and I've had to completely change that, completely. And I've learned probably as much from him in this
Yeah.
relationship as he,
that's the way it's meant to work.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that.
yeah, it's been huge.
I mean, for instance, what's really interesting is I'm a different learner from you. I like to have people model things for me, and then I'm very visual. Yet, within this job, I find myself becoming quite the little activist, you know, on a number of fronts. You're not all welcomed. But it's really funny, and I think it's something about the job. And maybe it's about our ability to manage our time, because we're so aware that we have so little of it, that we tend to, okay, X, Y, and Z has to be done, okay, whoop, out there, get X, Y, and Z done.
I set my student a task actually to find another job on this planet that actually encompasses what social workers do. We still haven't come up with it yet.
I'm just aware of
Yeah, come on, let's
Okay.
go round.
Okay. So, where am I?
So,
You're going to do something you haven't done before.
right,
Okay.
so
I'm gonna
you're
observe.
my advisor, oh,
Yeah,
right, there
I'll
we
give
go.
advice.
It's not very in-depth, I'm afraid, because I wanted it legible as well.
Okay. And you're now
yeah.
supervising. Yes.
Okay.
And you know what happened? That was what I was going to do, and I was going to do that to Kelly.
And it's not worked.
Okay.
Spoiled our cunning plans.
So,
And I then it made you think outside the box.
You did,
Which
you
was
did.
good.
You did, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what problem have I got?
I'm just a control freak and I don't like it. It's good though.
Hi.
Hi, Siobhan.
I'm a little bit concerned about how I'm managing to achieve all of the things that I've got to do, because I'm a little bit worried about, for instance, I would never call myself computer literate. I would say I was computer illiterate. It's just a sort of tool that I have to use. I don't enjoy it. I get really confused when I press buttons on that system and it doesn't do what I want it to do. And I feel really stupid, and I've had the training for it, and I'm still no better. And it's not that I want to be an expert on the computer, but I'm having to use it to do my work. And I just really feel that it's slowing me down. It's making me feel really conscious.
Oh, sorry to hear that. What training have you done?
Well, I feel a bit embarrassed to admit it, but I've got a level 2 in the driving licence computer thing. I've got a level 2 in that, which means I'm meant to be quite competent.
Okay.
But nothing that we're doing here, since I've joined here the other week, it's just so different. It just doesn't seem to be connecting for me. I don't feel that I'm able to transfer my limited computer knowledge and get it to a level that lets me complete all of these reports that I'm being asked to do and the assessments and things, and I just feel really quite under the cosh.
Do you think it's the type of work you're doing which integrates with the computer work that you have to do, or what is it exactly that is you really finding difficult?
I'm not even sure that I know, to be honest. I know I don't like the computer, and I know I have to use it. I just don't feel that it's very friendly. I'm trained to be a social worker. I don't want to be an IT expert.
I do understand that. But what we can actually offer you is actually some more training where you would actually be trained more looking at your paperwork and using the computer at the same time, so you could actually find where you're actually having these difficulties. Is that something you'd be willing to take on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for all the training, but and I do want to do it. I don't want to sound ungrateful. It's just that I find that the people that are doing the training, they talk in a language that I don't understand. I mean, they use lots of abbreviations and lots of jargon, and it doesn't mean anything to me. And then when, like, my manager says, oh, you need to do a core assessment, I don't know where to find it on the system. I mean, is this just because I'm new and I'm not familiar with the system, or should I just give up social work?
No, I don't think that's the way to go, Siobhan. But what we can actually try to do is actually, have you ever challenged the people giving you the training to actually say, I really don't understand the jargon you're talking about, the abbreviations you're talking about?
No, I haven't actually, to be honest.
Is that something you'd be willing to do when you have your next training?
I'd like to say yes, and I know that that would help me, but I just always feel conscious that all of these other people are whizzing ahead and I'm holding up the group, and I just feel a little bit not nervous, not frightened, but awkward asking them to break it down when I look around and everybody's kind of, they know what a desktop was, and to me it's the tabletop.
Yeah. I know it is really daunting to actually have something new thrown upon you. You have recently started, so you're actually learning so many things which you didn't know before. So my advice would actually be, how would you feel if I actually arrange one-to-one training for you? Rather than having a group, you could actually have one-to-one training.
That'd be brilliant. Someone really patient and old to make me not feel so bad.
Okay, that can be arranged. So besides the computer work, do you think you're having any problems with your other assessments, the core assessments or anything like that?
I don't know really, because I focus so much on not being able to get into the computer system and not understanding which assessments came under which titles, that I haven't even really thought about whether I'm going to be able to do it or not, because by the time I've pulled the assessment up, it's time for me to close it again and go out on a home visit. So I'm finding that I'm having to work really late at night in the office when there's no one around, because I haven't been able to do the things that I should have done in the daytime, and then I feel really tired. I get home, I don't want to eat anything, I feel exhausted, I feel sort of worried about whether I've done the right thing taking the job. Maybe I should have stuck to an area I was more familiar with old people, rather than going into sort of mental health where I don't really have that much experience and knowledge.
I can empathise with you because I felt like that when I first started.
Really.
But yeah, it was really, you feel like, is this the correct thing I really want to be doing? Is this something I have to look forward to? But I did actually try to do certain things which I actually thought would be useful. So in your case, since you're actually saying it's the work with the computer work, how would you feel about coming up with ideas that would actually help you in your training? So with regards to the paper you actually complete, why don't you take 1 or 2 cases with you to that training when it's being arranged, when you have a specific date for that one-to-one? Take that piece of paperwork and then actually try to see how it can actually be incorporated when you actually do the training, the computer training. How do you feel about that?
That would be brilliant, actually, because if I can just learn where to find a few relevant things that I need every day, that would be great. Because, for instance, where I worked on my placements, they called it case recording, whereas here they're calling it observation recording. So it's just the different names are probably throwing me a little bit. But yeah, to be able to actually take some of my paperwork. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're obviously desperate for me to wave at you.
Yeah, I was about to wave
The
myself.
only time I didn't look was when the hand came up.
That was meant to be your 1 minute warning, that wasn't meant. But you can. I won't wait.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that's all right. I'll rescue you. Okay. Does Kelly want to give some feedback?
Yeah, sure. It's really good. Where do I start? Well, at first there were things I didn't really know I wanted to write that I couldn't actually put into one of these boxes. One was you were immediately empathising with her. That was your initial start. Was, well, I can understand. You know, I'm sorry to hear that. Was what you said. I think first and foremost, when she'd sort of given you this wealth of I can't use a goddamn computer, blah blah blah. Because I would have been like, right. Yeah. But you were immediately, so that was really good. You had good eye contact and the use of your voice as well. I mean, it was very, because she was obviously very anxious and it was a very sort of personal topic in many respects, because a lot of people aren't computer literate and they struggle with it and they feel embarrassed by that, and you know, the fact that they should be IT experts and nobody is. So the way in which you did that, using your own sort of personal skills, was really good. So she didn't feel embarrassed, and in fact she then wanted to tell you a whole lot more about the computer, which was really good. You were exploring all the time, rather than, so you were giving advice. When you said about asking the trainers, you know, which was good, you know, have you thought about this? Ask them to give you specific, you know, advice about this, that, and the other. You were empowering her to tackle it herself. A couple of times you were sort of giving it over to her to, you know, have you done this? What if you did this? Rather than sort of giving her this sort of instruction or advice. You were giving her a lot of guidance. You said that you understand, which was good. You offered, what you did was you acknowledged the fact and sort of said to her, in no unclear terms really, well, you have to use a computer. But the way in which you did it was really quite subtle, because instead of saying, look, at the end of the day, we've all got to use a computer, so you either get on with it or you don't, you actually did, which is what I probably would have done, yeah, which is what I would have done, because I would not be interested whatsoever. You actually said something so nice, and it was so lovely, because you sort of said, yes, I know, and you know, using a computer isn't it? But so you were actually saying, well, we've got to use computers, but you did it in such a nice way, and then you put like, how can you help? So the way you did that was really nice. You were making suggestions about looking at your paperwork, taking that to the trainer. I mean, all the time you were actually not taking it from her. You were empowering her all the time. That's how I felt. You immediately asked her what training she's had. Being clear about that and finding out exactly what it was she'd had previously, and were there any other problems or issues with the work, which then led into, because you started exploring that, you actually gained a bit more info about her working late, and so the impact of not using a computer actually had a bigger impact on the work that you probably didn't know about before. So that came from your exploring. You gave a bit of insight into your own experience, but again, that was very good, because you actually said, yeah, when I started, blah, blah, blah. But in your case, so you didn't actually directly relate your own experience to her, unlike what we had with Siobhan. It remained separate, because you made it clear that she was obviously someone very different, and you sort of put, in your case, making it separate from your own, which I found quite interesting. And you listened a lot, and you allowed her to speak fully, and you kept acknowledging and understanding throughout, so it was really good.
Yeah, thank you.
And I did feel empowered.
Did you? That's good.
Yeah, because by going one-to-one, I don't have to feel stupid in front of all of these young IT wizards. And also, my learning, my training could be based on something practical for me. I.e., this is what I want, train me how to do it so that I could build up my confidence. And I felt able to sort of tell you that I felt sort of a bit silly with the computer and things like that. And I picked the computer because I couldn't think of it.
That was it, actually.
Oh no, that was good. That was good, and I'm sure there's lots of social workers who would have very similar.
Oh God, loads.
I was abused
Yeah.
a 12-year-old for IT when he comes up to fix it. He's only 12.
And I thought, how many times have I heard, I'm a social worker,
Yeah.
not an IT? And I thought, well,
I'm checking it. And I'm thinking, no, don't say that.
No, I think I kind of concur in. I thought I love the use of empathy and you know that you acknowledged how she was feeling and that you also related it to your own experience. I thought that was nice. I think there's still the tendency to go into problem solving, but it was a bit more balanced. So, but so I think it'd been interesting watching all three because it felt as we've gone along, people, you know, have had the opportunity to observe the others and got less kind of active and a bit more kind of, you know, a bit more relational and stuff.
Does that mean I get off for going first?
Well, I think, yeah.
We could have done it the other way around, finish and then get our views, you know.
But I think that's part of the process that we identified in the first one, didn't we? That there's a certain position maybe that social workers take because of, you know, thinking time is very key in that. That there's not time to think, there's just time to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you actually don't stop and think, then you just go charging along. Actually, if you have 5 minutes, like we've had 5 minutes or an hour to think about things, and actually people have said, well, actually maybe I might do it a bit different next time. You know, so
Definitely.
and that has felt the sense that that's been a real, and I thought you were very generous and open to kind of thinking about that, because if you've been terribly defensive, you know, that and going, oh no, I thought I was wonderful.
We won't learn that way.
No, so I thought it was very generous of you to kind of, and open of you to go, yeah, well, actually I might have done that differently, that's really interesting. Because then that opens the conversation up for all of us to think, well, isn't that interesting? Because and as I say, it's interesting for me because, as I say, I come from the other end of things and probably I'd drive you all nuts because you'd be thinking, nothing's happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't sorted anything out.
No.
And I'd be
Well,
there
like
doing it for you so you didn't have to worry.
Yes. Well, that you feel better. I'll be thinking, well, why don't you let me know my own feelings? No, I thought it was really a good
I
exercise.
enjoyed that. I won't return it, or in case others haven't enjoyed it, we're going to
Yeah, we'll turn them off.
laughing. Have we got? Oh, we haven't, have we?
No.
No, you're